like to introduce Stuart Olesker, who is the coordinator for the California Highway Patrol Age Well, Drive Smart program. He's a senior volunteer at the local CHP station at DeSoto Avenue in Woodland Hills. Duties include AWDS program, school patrol, ambulance inspections, as well as many other functions that aid the operations of the CHP. Today, with his staff of Paul Kane, Max Eisenberg, Marlene Lovett, will be presenting this program. Stuart, before he became a volunteer in this program, is retired as a president from his lighting company here in the Valley. So, Stuart, I hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, here we go. Yes. Well, good afternoon. Actually, it's morning. It seems like afternoon after the traffic. Today, the way we will be presenting the program is Max will be presenting the first part of the program. Paul will do the second part of the program. We kind of have it broken up, so to make it as interesting as possible. Got a couple questions, though. Who remembers the name of the star of the original Highway Patrol program on TV? Do I hear any names? Broderick Crawford, yes, of course. Remember the next series of Highway Patrol programs? You remember it was called Chips? And we had 2 stars in that one, pretty popular names. Anybody remember the names of the stars? Eric Estrada and Wilcox, Larry Wilcox, right. Okay, just a brief thing of some of our items that we do. Actually, the CHP does a lot of things besides just cruising the freeways. We have a lot of detectives within our organization and that follow up on accident reports. But some of the other things that you may not be aware of that the school patrol does, did you know that the ambulances, the private ambulances, have to be certified once a year? And what does that mean? It means being inspected on the vehicle itself and the medical parts in the back. You know, we want to make sure that if any of us have to get in the back and you're on the gurney, they've got enough oxygen in their tanks. So the officers will do that, and a lot of our senior volunteers will be part of the ambulance inspection program. And the CHP also inspects the school buses, tow trucks. You know, you don't want your car falling off the tow truck when, you know, they're transporting it. And really, our senior volunteers cover a lot of these areas in assistance with them. So anyway, let's get started with the program. Max will be doing the first part. So Max, come on up. And whoop, what's happened? My thing dropped off. 1 second. You know how computers are, they like to take charge of things. All right, come on, baby. Happy days.
Maybe you have to restart it.
No. Come on. It's cooking, it's cooking. Temperamental. What happened here? Yeah. There we go.
Ah, what a guy.
Okay, all right. I think we're good here. Yes, okay. Go to it.
Okay. Good morning. How many of you drove here? Oh, that's great. And how many of you drive regularly? Awesome. You know how important that is. And the California Highway Patrol wants to make sure that you keep driving safely. because they know if you're driving safely, the people around you are too. It's super important. Please put your phones on silent. Oh, good. Oh, you guys are ahead of me. You did that already. That's good. Okay. And as they say, we want to keep you driving safely for as long as possible. Whoops. And driving is so important. It keeps you independent. You might want to spend a few days at home. Maybe you're reading a good book. Maybe you have company. But you want to have the option of going out and getting in your car and going someplace. It's super important. It prevents loneliness. It's very, very important. Social activities, travel. Age group. California has the largest amount of senior drivers in the country. As of 2022, there were over 5 million seniors over the age of 65 driving. And I imagine that by the next census, there'll be a lot more. So we're out there traveling around, and we want to be safe. You decide when to stop driving. You know, there's no age where you have to stop driving. Thank goodness, we wouldn't want that. I know people in their 90s who are out there driving. They haven't had accidents, and they're doing fine. By the same token, I know people in their early 70s who've had to give up driving for various reasons. So as you can see, we're all different with our driving, and this program will bring to light some things you should probably take a look at. When you should have that talk, you know, I was lucky because my late husband, who was not driving well as he got older, he walked in one day and he said, "I'm going to give up driving." And I was very ecstatic, and I hope that happens to everybody else. It was an easy way to do it because he should not have been on the road. So that was it. And of course, the next day I got on the phone and I sold his car because I didn't want him to change his mind. That was it. And I felt safe, and my kids felt safe, and it was a good thing. Here we go with the population. Here's a thing that tells at age 70 how many more years you might have to drive. And of course, it just depends on you. By the way, we're going to come to a part of this PowerPoint where we have 8 slides with questions, and they're very important questions. But because of time constraints, we're going to go through them very quickly, but no worries. We're going to hand out printouts at the end of this presentation, and you can go home at your leisure and look through all of these questions because they'll bring out some interesting points about your hearing or your eyesight or your flexibility. And it's very important that you keep on track with that. I love these myths. This is not true. Statistics show that the younger drivers are worse because they're not as cautious. They might be on their phones. They might have a car full of people. They're talking. They go too fast. We don't do that. Thank goodness. And yeah, this is a myth. Older drivers sometimes realize they're a little reticent about driving and they'll give it up. I think that's what happened with my husband. But most older drivers know when it's time to stop. No, unfortunately, your doctor will not. In the first place, he doesn't drive with you, so he doesn't know. He knows your medical history. But I think doctors are probably a little cautious about doing that because they wouldn't want you to have to give up driving and you'd blame them. So I don't think so. And this is not true. In the first place, you can renew your driver's license online. They've made it very easy. You do have to make an appointment to take a test for them to check your eyes. And I think the only time they check your driving ability is if you've had an accident and it comes to their attention. Again, older drivers, they're a little more cautious. They might feel they're not driving as well as they should. They'll slow down. They'll be careful making a turn. And it is, the only time it's easy to use public transportation, from my viewpoint, is if you're living in an apartment house or a condo area where it's an age-restricted community. Then you see the access buses or the public transportation, they're coming in and out. Otherwise, if you're in a house, it's not quite as easy. But you do have Uber and Lyft, thank heavens, and I know a lot of us get around with that too. This would be wonderful if everybody was privy to this and everybody heard this presentation. The problem is, only about 5% of seniors see a presentation like this. I wish they all did, because we're going to bring out things that you really should look at. And here's the beginning of those 8 questions. How important is driving to your life? How confident you are? How would you rate your vision? Your reaction time? Your flexibility? I'll tell you a quick story. I was driving with one of my daughters down Sherman Way a few weeks ago. It was a 2-lane road. It was the middle of the day, not a lot of traffic. And out of the blue, a car came toward us in our lane. My daughter did not have time to look at the lane next to us, and she went into it. Otherwise, we would have been hit head on. Luckily, there was no one in that lane, but we were all very shook. So you've got to have good flexibility and reflexes. And you'll see this in the printout we give you. You can rate yourselves. Does it make you feel anxious? This is very important because prescriptions can interact with each other and impact you in ways that might hurt your driving. How aware are you of other resources? Okay. I'm now going to turn this over to Paul, who has some good comments for you. Thank you.
Little adjustment, we have a height difference. Can everybody hear me now? Okay, taking control. One of the factors, first of all, what Max pointed out, is you're going to get a questionnaire, and this questionnaire is to help you evaluate yourself. Everybody's going to be different, and you're going to have different criteria today as you will in 6 months, and you may want to use that difference in criteria to evaluate whether you want to continue driving and how it affects your driving. So it's a questionnaire that's not just for one time. It's something to keep in mind and things to help you evaluate your driving ability later on. Now, there are certain things that we do have control of, and I'm going to cover some of those because the things that we do have control of, we want to make the best of our ability to use those things. Certain things that we can control are vision and hearing changes, your mental vitality, your physical fitness, sleep and rest, nutrition, and the use of medications. And there's also something with reaction time, which I will cover. These are things which have some touch of ability of each individual to vary to some degree. Vision changes. Visual acuity, the ability to see things clear. You, of course, want to see things clear because you have to drive and you don't want to make mistakes and see there's a sign that you have to read and you don't read it. Oops, I was supposed to turn off on that street. So you got to be certain that your visual acuity, your depth perception is important. The ability to judge distances, how far you are from the car in front of you, where things are, that's also important. Contrast sensitivity, glare recovery. Now there's something that we really got to consider. With the new headlights on these cars that are so bright, It takes you a while for your eye to accommodate this brightness, and during that time, you're essentially temporarily blinded from the light that's coming to be able to see again clearly the road ahead of you. So don't look at those headlights. Look over to the side of the road. Look at the lane marker. Watch the lane right in front of the car. That will keep your glare recovery to the best that you can. It's going to take time, but it does keep you to the best that you can. Light and dark adaptation. When you go inside of a tunnel and you come back out, there's a change in light. It takes time for your eye to accommodate. That lessens your ability to see. So you want to take note of that and drive accordingly. When you're entering a tunnel, you may want to make certain that you're further back from the car in front of you so that if they stop or do something, you haven't approached them because you're in the darkness. Peripheral vision, the ability to see to the side when looking straight ahead. You have to be aware of what's going on around you while you're driving. Now, peripheral vision can be reduced, so you end up, some people with what's called tunnel vision, but you have to be able to see things. So if you can't see certain things, you have to be able to then look to the right or look to the left to make certain that you see what's going on around you. The use of mirrors, the use of sensors on the vehicle, all of those things can help you because peripheral vision is important in your abilities to operate a motor vehicle properly. Hearing changes. As we get older, we know that our hearing might change. And if your hearing is diminished, get a hearing aid. Some people are embarrassed to having to wear a hearing aid. I know a lady who can more than afford a hearing aid. She will not even get these cheap ones that are advertised because of her sensitivity, I guess, of wearing a hearing aid, the idea of it maybe. But it is important. Why? Because hearing is important. The cars now are made silent. There's silent glass. You close the windows. It makes it so there's less outside noise bothering you while you're driving. But there are outside noises such as emergency vehicles, sirens, things that are occurring that you have to be able to hear. You must listen to the radio, talk to a passenger, hearing what they're saying. All of these things distract you from driving, but they're important to consider them and make certain that things are clear. You don't want to keep saying, what'd you say, what'd you say? And that might distract you from paying attention. So get your hearing checked and, of course, use whatever appropriate is necessary to improve your hearing. Mental vitality. Driving is not a single attention task. You're not sitting there tracking the vehicle straight down the road like some drunks do, by the way. By the way, my background is I was an expert on drunk driving for the court system. That was my career. So tunnel driving is what drunks get. They pay attention to only what's going on in front of them, and you'll pull up alongside somebody at a signal, and you'll see they're staring like this at the light to see, is it green yet? Is it green yet? I'm going to go, because they're not paying attention to what's going on. So driving is a multi-attention task. You have to be aware of what's going on in front of you, to the side, to the rear, how your car is functioning, maybe paying attention to the weather, watching what's going on, and, of course, tracking the vehicle. So you have to pay attention. You want to keep your mind active. Multi-attention is a factor with driving, and you want to avoid anything that distracts from that. So you want to keep your mind active. What can you do? Again, these are things that you can take control of. Musical theater. You can listen to music, follow a tune, learn singing, go to the theater, watch a play, be involved with the theme that's going on in the play. This keeps your mind active. Puzzles and games. Those are other things that you can do to keep your mind active. I don't do crossword puzzles. I'm the world's worst speller. In fact, if I were to play Scrabble, I think they would wear out the dictionary looking up a word that I said, oh, that's the word. And they said, well, we can't find it in the dictionary. I'm the world's worst speller. But I do Sudoku. Why? Because it keeps your mind active. It's logic. It's something that you keep doing to keep your mind going to the best of your ability. Adult education. You can go to classes, ergo something like this. And you can do things that Pierce College offers them. On the internet, you can take classes. You could take other kinds of activities such as that to learn things and keep your mind active. Physical fitness. Physical fitness is important in driving. Obviously, you got to get in the car and out of the car, do things in the car while you're driving. So strength, flexibility, endurance, and balance are factors of which you can control by doing physical activities to help with that. Strength, obviously, is important. Flexibility, if you have to look over your shoulder to see what's going on, you have to get into your car and turn. You have to be able to get out of your car. You don't want to fall as you get out of your car. I know there's handles that you can put in that little metal thing on the side to help people get in and out of the car. These are things that you have to take control of and be aware of things that can help you in that area. Dancing. Dancing is an activity that you can do. I square dance and I ballroom dance. My wife doesn't. She doesn't ballroom dance, but I go to dances, senior dances. I mean, where else can I hold a woman that's not my wife and she doesn't get ticked off? Walking. Walking is another physical activity that you can do. You don't need any additional equipment. You can pick your time and place to do it. All you have to do is get up off the chair and move. Sleep and rest. Sleep and rest is important. It's important because if you're not well rested, if you're fatigued, it will affect your driving ability. Why? Because it lessens your ability to pay attention to what's going on. You, of course, at the other end of the spectrum, don't want to fall asleep while you're driving. That also can be very detrimental. Nutrition. You want to keep your body functioning at its best, so you want to have a proper nutrition. Failure to have proper nutrition can be related to various diseases. Being overweight or obese can affect your ability to get in and out of your car and move. Heart disease, diabetes, stroke, or cancer can also be affected by improper nutrition. So again, something that you have some control over. Again, everything might be limited, but you do what you can. Medications, prescriptions, over-the-counter, side effects, and interactions with alcohol. We all know that alcohol affects your driving ability. Excuse me. I was an expert in that. We also did research as to what other things affect your driving ability, such as alcohol. Well, we find also that being on your cell phone affects your driving ability the same as alcohol because it takes your attention away. Getting older also affects your driving ability, similar to alcohol and drugs. God forbid that guy who's had too much to drink and he's trying to drive the car while on the phone. He's got all those things. Anyway, over-the-counter medications. Some of the medications you take, you'll notice, may have on the label, do not take while operating a motor vehicle or machinery. Why? Because it affects your abilities. Different medications can interact with each other. 1 + 1 can be greater than 2, so that you can have the additional effect. We want to increase the ability to avoid those problems, and even herbal medications can have some effect. So talk to your pharmacist about the interaction between the drugs that you're getting, and they might be able to inform you of some information that would be helpful. Aging will slow us down. We know that. Reaction time. Reaction time is more than some people think it is. People think, oh, reaction time, I can take my foot off the accelerator and put it on the brake very fast. That's only a small aspect of a reaction time. Reaction time is actually the time that something occurs that you have to react to, and you have completed your response to that stimulus. Now, if something is occurring over there and you're looking over here, you don't see that for a while, so your reaction time is increased. This is why you have to pay attention to what's going on. Once you do see what you have to respond to, you say, something occurred. What is it? What should I do in response to that? I have to make a mental decision, and then you decide what you're going to do, and then you make a movement. So that's also part of reaction time. And then you say, okay, I have to move my foot from the accelerator to the brake. Okay? Now you've done that. Now, the stopping distance on a vehicle is dependent upon the size of the vehicle. Big vehicles, heavy vehicles take longer to stop than smaller vehicles. Braking condition, tire condition can have an effect. Road condition can have an effect. If the roads are wet, it takes you longer. All of these things can affect reaction time, and you have to adjust accordingly. So keep your distances bigger if you're driving in the rain. Avoid some things. Recognize that all of these things affect your ability to react appropriately. Okay, this is a little exercise just to show how things slow down. This is a scene, and in this scene there are various things to observe, and they're numbered, 1 through several numbers. I'm going to flash it on the screen for a quick 10 seconds maybe, and just try to find number 1, number 2, number 3, sequentially look for that. So that's citing a scene very similar to what you might see when you're approaching this kind of an intersection, and you want to be able to note what's going on. Okay, now what that shows now is, if you have a chart here, and none of these numbers, statistics don't apply really, because as Max showed on a chart earlier, I'm personally well beyond the age of which people are expected to be driving still. So, but here it shows that, what it does show is that as your age increases, the number of things that you see decrease. So things slow down. Keep that in mind and drive accordingly. You can be a better driver by doing certain things, again, within your control. Plan your trip, check your vehicle before starting the engine, recognize your safe driving practices, the rules of the road, and of course we want to avoid any accidents or collisions. Now in planning your trip, know where you have to go. Okay, one is somebody sends you a thing, be at this address, boom, that's fine. Set your GPS, that's also a help. But know the address, the phone number of where you're going. In case you do get lost, you can ask for help. Be aware of the surroundings around you when you're going places. And use routes that have less traffic. You don't want to take the 405 at 8 in the morning. You know, you might want to travel up Wilbur, one of the parallel streets. That might be better. And drive during off-peak hours. Okay, try to go where you're going to go during off-peak hours. For example, don't make your appointments to a doctor at 8 a.m., make it at 10. Then you can drive when it's not during the rush hour. ICE. This is not the immigration service, which you're hearing about now. This is in case of emergency. In your phone, put your contact information should something happen to you in case of an emergency under the term ICE. First responders can get into your phone. Let's say you've been in an accident and you're unconscious and they can't ask you, who should I contact? They can get into your phone and get this information and report to them that you're being taken to such and such hospital or whatever if necessary. It's a little bit that you can do to help the first responders. And you can put it on the back of your license, on a tagger, put it on your back of your phone. You can put it anywhere with which you would expect the first responder might be looking for information about you. Don't text while driving. We don't do that. Only the kids do that. Texting takes your attention away from driving. And don't search for objects when you are driving. For example, if something falls off the seat on the floor, don't bend down trying to find that object. Wait till you pulled over to the side of the road. And of course, talking on your phone, we can use our hands-free aspect, but that does act as a distraction to your driving ability. Recognize that. This simply refers to the fact that when you text or do something that takes your attention away, even for 4.6 seconds, your car at 60 miles an hour is going the length of a football field, and you're not seeing what's going on. You're driving blind. Check your vehicle. Another thing you can do, your windshield, tires, lights, we don't bother with oil levels, but fuel are important. You want to make certain your windshield is clear. If you've ever driven into the sun with a dirty windshield and you get all that glare, it's very difficult for you to see. Use the spritzer on the car. Check your tires. Walk around your car periodically so you don't end up like having a low tire, because if you have a nail and it's a slow leak, you'll get to your destination and then you'll come out and you have a flat tire. So you want to be aware of that. Check your lights, make certain that the headlights, tail lights, signal directors are working properly. If you get a ticket for lack of proper equipment, you can come down to the station and we'll help sign you off. That's one of the activities that we do as senior volunteers. Make certain that you have proper fuel, at least a quarter of a tank, because you never know when somebody's going to call you and say, I have an emergency, can you come over and do this or take care of that? And you don't want to have to worry about, well, is the gas station open at this time of night? Before starting your engine, adjust your seat, your headrests, your mirrors, and buckle up. Adjusting your seat is important. You're sitting in the car, you have a steering wheel in front of you. That steering wheel has an airbag. Should you be involved in an accident, that airbag's going to go off at like 200 miles an hour. You don't want to hit you in the face. You want the center of that steering wheel to be approximately 10 to 12 ounces from your chest. You want the seat high enough so you can see over the dash. I followed somebody today, we just barely see the top of their head. So you want to be sitting up high enough, and you want to be sitting up appropriately to the steering wheel. Adjusting your mirrors, and buckle up. And we have a little video here on mirrors. Well, adjusting your seat, I've covered. Seat belts, we all know the proper way to wear a seatbelt is not put it under your arm. The headrest, if it is adjustable, should be to the middle of the back of your head. So if you do get hit in the rear, you don't have to possibly wear one of those little necklaces for 6 months. And of course, buckle up. Okay. Right now, we have a video which will help you set your mirrors. It's a little different than what we used to do. Let's see.
Do you know the old adage, you have to look before you leap? Well, the same applies to driving. You need to see where you're going to get there safely. And on today's autofocus, I'm going to show you how to properly adjust your side view and your rear view mirror. Yeah, seems simple enough. You adjust your mirrors till you can see behind you and everything's great. But there is a technique so you can see into those blind spots behind your car and see that car coming up behind you. Now, the proper way to adjust your driver's side view mirror is to lean your head all the way over till just about till you touch the glass like this. Then adjust your mirror until you just see beyond your car. You should just see just that little sliver. You shouldn't see that. You're going to adjust just beyond that. What that's going to allow you to do is to see past that blind spot. You don't need to see your car. You need to see the lane next to you and to see the car that's in it. Now, with the passenger side view mirror, you want to lean as far over towards the center as you can and adjust that mirror till you see just beyond your car. That will allow you to see into that 3/4 view blind spot on your passenger side. Now, for the rear view mirror, a lot simpler. Most people do this right. Obviously, you just want to adjust it till you see right behind you. If you're in that Jeep right there and you want to be in this turn lane, what do? You check your side view mirror, you don't see a car there, and you pull on in. And then suddenly, boom, there's a car there. Now, if your mirror was adjusted properly, this is what you would have seen. Take a moment, adjust your mirrors properly. A well-adjusted mirror can actually save your life. I'm Ben Italis with this week's Autofocus.
That's a little different than the way we used to adjust the mirrors, where we could see the corner of our car. We're not interested in seeing the corner of our car. We know where that is. We want to see the road. Okay? In adjusting the mirrors, I remember just a little side thing, is that we had 2 mirrors, but no mechanical aspect, and sometimes you had to get somebody else to adjust the side mirror when it was way out there. Okay, you have blind spots. Blind spots are areas of which you can't see very clearly. And you either have to use your mirrors, some cars have sensors, you have to either turn and look because you don't want a car there when you decide to change lanes. Trucks have blind spots also. If you're following some of these big trucks, you'll notice some of them have signs that said, if you can't see them, they can't see you. So if you can't see the face of the driver in the mirrors, that means you're probably in one of the blind spots, and you don't want to be there because if a truck moves, makes a wide turn, and you're on the right, that's going to be a very depressing situation. Follow at a safe distance and keep to the right and slow down. We're going to recognize that we might drive a little slower, so we want to be to the right because your cars are going to get tired of being behind you and they want to pass you. That's fine. They can do that on the left. You don't want to have them start going both sides. Follow at a safe distance. Anybody know what a safe distance used to be? Anybody hear that one car length for every 10 miles? Well, I don't know how long a car is. So we have a new rule of thumb. It's called the 3-second rule. That means that you follow a car 3 seconds behind it. At higher speeds, that's going to make a bigger distance than at slower speeds. And the way you determine 3 seconds is as a car is driving along, it passes a trash can or a sign or something, and you go 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, and if you're now at that same point, you're 3 seconds behind. If you're only at 1,002, you should leave a bigger space. And I recognize the fact that people always ask, well, if you do that on the freeway, somebody's going to turn and cut in front of you. And you say, okay, so you drop back at the same distance, and you get there 3 seconds later, but you get there safer. And if somebody is behind you and they're tailgating you, one of the things I suggest is let them go around and go into that spot, because you don't want them tailgating you. You can drop back and leave the safe distance. Safe driving practices, things to keep in mind. Beware of stress. Can affect your driving. Avoid distractions. Sometimes people talking to you can be a distraction. Don't shave or use makeup. And of course, ignore road rage. Be aware of stress. FIDO. FIDO is the acronym for road rage. You don't want to get involved with somebody, so forget it and drive on. If somebody gives you the one-finger salute, the best thing you can do is ignore it, because they're telling them, you're not getting any reaction from me, you've lost. So just ignore it. And in summary, acknowledge the significance of driving to you. That varies between every individual. Many pertinent factors to consider. Your age group statistics, of course, we've talked about. You can take control of some of your driving life, become a better driver, and there will be a time to stop. Eventually, everybody's going to have to stop driving. I already know when that's going to be. That's when my wife tells me so. And of course, understand the alternatives. They're getting better: Uber, Lyft, Access, these various other things. Always wear your seatbelts, and thank you for attending. You want to introduce Cody? Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Thanks, Max. Now, for questions and answers, we have our real officer here, Cody Sturridge, and he is the public information officer for our station on DeSoto, Station 580. And we're going to do questions. Let me give you the unless you want to maybe make it easy.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi. This is slightly off the subject, but what's your take on these autonomous vehicles that can be used as taxi cabs?
Autonomous vehicles, we tend to see a lot of like Tesla crashes in the rain in particular, and I'm not sure if that's due to autonomy reasons, because it's up to the driver to tell us if they were using autonomous mode or not. But generally, the electric vehicles, the autonomous ones, they tend to get in more accidents in the rain, and that's probably because they're heavy, and the acceleration, they have a lot more torque. So if you rapidly accelerate in the Tesla, it's a lot easier to hydroplane and spin out. Now, as far as the autonomous, if that's plays a role in that, I can't really speak to that, because for the most part, every driver has told us that they weren't using it. You know,
My daughter sent me a picture of herself and her husband going out on date night in a vehicle that did not have a steering wheel.
Oh.
Waymo.
Yeah.
Did you have your hand up? Yeah. I think you might want to add one other thing on there, and that's making a safe left turn. Mm-hmm. Cars are so fast these days that you don't have as much time to make the left turn before that guy doing 60 is on you, even though the limit may be 40. The cars are too damn fast these days, mm-hmm. and you just don't have that much time like we used to when we were younger. Yeah. And I think making a left turn has gotten seniors more trouble than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. As you get older, reaction time goes down. Cars are a lot faster than they used to be, and it's just safer to make a right turn It always will be because you don't have to yield to opposing traffic. So right turns are better if you can, and left turns, just make sure you give yourself plenty of time and plenty of space, and just pay attention to, just take a second and look at how fast that car is going. Because if you do just a quick check, it might look far away, but it's actually approaching you a lot faster.
I want to bring up my in case of emergency spot on my phone after listening today, and I'm wondering what is the best form to put it in? Do we put it in ICE or do we spell it out in case of emergency? How do you recommend we list it in our iPhones?
Like list it on the phone itself, like
Do we
putting a
just
note on the
put
phone, or
ICE? I mean, how would a police officer look for it? Would he look for it under just plain ICE with no periods? What's the best way to list it?
so in general, the fire department will tend to look at that information rather than us. Fire department will usually get their,
Okay, but how should we
For-
list it? Should we list it with periods after the I? I mean, I want to make sure they get the information. Does somebody have a recommendation?
I would just recommend writing emergency contact information. That way, in case the acronym,
Isn't the same as
someone might not know what the acronym means, but if you have it spelled out, then I would say that would be a lot better.
Thank you.
I'll show you. It's under the medical thing, and it goes on your first screen. Who had their hand up first? There we go.
Hi. Going back to turning left, where is the proper place to stand with your car when you want to turn left? I always learned that you have to go to the middle of the road and wait and then turn. But there's so many people that are not moving out. They're staying behind the line, and then when the light turns, they're the only ones that can go through.
Yeah, so you should proceed into the intersection and wait until you can make the left turn.
Okay, thank you.
Two questions related. Paul had mentioned that drunk drivers have tunnel vision. Is it also true, Paul, that drunk drivers follow lights?
They do. They tend to drive where they look. And this is one reason why they've had patrol cars stop to help somebody on the side of the road. And we've noticed, at least I've heard about this, the person looks over, oh, look at that, and then boom, they get the...
Okay, thank you. All right, the next thing. Okay, so that would be one reason someone's following you. Then we talked about the tailgater. You should let them go around. But how do you take care of yourself in that situation? Because there's some, when someone blows their horn, you immediately, you want to take, start off or whatever, but you just hope that they go around you. And then also, which is related, are these speed fast drivers, the racing cars, which I see people do all the time. And you tend to want to, like, what do I do now? Is he going to go in front of me or do I stop? What's the best approach to those two issues?
So I'm going to say do what's safer for you. So if you look in your rearview mirror and you see a car rapidly approaching you, then you're probably better off moving out of the way and just moving over. But if they're really rapidly approaching you, the other thing they might do is just swerve quickly into the lane. And if you had gone to move over, then they would hit you in that instance too. So you just want to look behind you and then kind of get a gauge of how fast they're coming. And if you have enough time to move over so they can just proceed straight, then I would do that. And then as far as tailgating, if someone's tailgating you, that's more likely to cause an accident and they're not moving, I'd move over as well. Now as far as, if it's road rage, just disengage from them. So that's a little different. So if they're following you and stuff like that and honking at you, you can call 911 and then we can go out and we can stop the car and talk to them. So if there's a true road rage situation, just disengage from them, and if they keep following you, then you can call us and we can go stop the car.
Let me go to Alan first.
How valuable do you think having cameras that see in front and behind you
in case of an accident or other reasons, or how important you think that might be. And also just curious if you had one and you saw people doing illegal things like, bad driving mistakes or going through red lights or whatever with your camera, is that something you could present to the police about, since you'd have that license plate on, as well as the video of what they've done?
Yes, so cameras are very important. We recommend that everyone have cameras because it can often prove that you were not at fault in an accident. Because there's plenty of times where of course, there's always someone that's going to lie. There always will be. And we've had plenty of cases where there's two people say they both change lanes into the same lane. And they both say, no, I was in the lane the whole time, and they hit me. One of them's not telling the truth, right? But if someone had a dash cam, I've actually been able to put one person at fault for the accident because I can see that one person was lying to me about it. So that's very important. It can make the difference between at fault and not at fault. And then, what was the second part of your question? So it depends on what it is. So if it's for an infraction, like running a red light, we can't issue them a citation after the fact. It has to be in our presence. But if it was as related to a crash, then we can use it in that case. And if your dash cam happened to catch something else, like some other crime that rose above an infraction, like a misdemeanor or a felony, then yes, we can use that footage to prosecute that person.
Do you just monitor the highways, like the freeways, or the city, also the city streets? Because I, for many years, travel like down Ventura Boulevard in Encino, and the garbage trucks are right there on the street, and it's rush hour, and everyone has to go over and around them, and I'm just wondering, how do we take care of that? And also, when we're driving and all of a sudden they do something to the lights, and now the traffic is all backed up and people are going every which way because it's not the way it was before. Somebody on the outside, some places, I guess, doing something with the lights, changing the way they work or something like that. How do you handle that problem?
So as far as that goes, LAPD handles the surface streets. So while we have jurisdiction statewide, within city jurisdiction, they handle those issues. So as far as traffic issues and stuff like that, that's not primarily us, but we can, say, stop a car on city streets for a violation. So they handle that portion of it. We focus on the freeways. So if it's lights and stuff like that on and off ramps or on the freeways, that's what we work on. And then as far as what was the second part of your question? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the city lights, same thing, that will be in the city. So if there's like an intersection that's out, I would contact LAPD. And their public works can go out and fix it. But if it's on the freeway, so if it's our freeway lights, you'd contact us, and we will go out, we'll check the lights, and then we'll have Caltrans come and fix the lights.
I was just curious, I'm not who is best to answer this question, but if you're, can you hear me?
Yeah.
But if you're going to get a vision test, does AAA also do the vision test, or only DMV once you require the vision test?
DMV does the vision test.
AAA does not do it?
No.
First, thank you for your presentation. It was really helpful. I noticed, I think I noticed in that video you showed about positioning the mirrors and getting over into the left-hand turn lane. The guy said, okay, check, be careful for the car that comes up too fast. I didn't hear him actually say you should turn around and look. Is that important?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so even if you adjust the mirrors like they stated, you still want to
But-
check.
But you should still turn around and physically
Yes.
look, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the other thing, in response to the other question, you said LAPD is more like local and stuff like that. Is it legal to make a U-turn on Ventura Boulevard?
It depends. So if you have
It
a two-way
depends.
left turn lane, then yes, you can make a U-turn.
You can make a U-turn from a two-way left-hand turn lane
Yes.
in a business district. Is it-
I think so. Yeah. No, so probably not in a business district, but if there is a two-way left turn lane, my understanding is you can make a U-turn from a two-way left turn lane.
I haven't heard about taking a brush-up class, and I think that AAA does offer classes for seniors. Do you know anything about that?
AAA does class for seniors. AARP does one also.
It's also about
Also a good idea.
Every 3 years, I do the AARP course online, and then I get a reduction in my insurance as well. Anyone can do it. And it's great because it's amazing how much we forget about what we think we know. There's so much to learn there. And I actually really enjoy it, and I do it online. And if you check it out, the price for doing that course ranges between like $6 and $36. So just do that course, and it's AARP. It's offered regularly, and you can check your insurance, and you'll probably get a reduction, as I do, about $20 or $30 or something like that.
Yes.
One thing I do often is use my signal directors. I'll put them on and let people know what I'm... Okay, signal directors. I've always used them. I want to warn the people what I'm intending to do. Of course, they'll speed up, and then I can just avoid it, but often you can get into that lane, and people aren't using signal directors, so you never know what people are going to be doing. So that's a big tool that I use often.
Well, I mean, that's why we have the mic. Who had a question here? Lauren or Sam? Last question.
It's sort of a question. I'll disguise it as one. Some of the answer is obviously, but what I am seeing now is an epidemic of people running red lights. And I've seen terrible crashes. These are city streets, not the freeway. But besides the obvious, any other thoughts about how we're going to keep these people from killing people?
So we do as much enforcement as we can. So if we're on city streets and see someone run a red light, we stop them. LAPD works a little differently, so they've kind of scaled back from making traffic stops unless it's something that's egregious. So it's kind of different depending on jurisdiction as far as enforcement goes. But if we see someone run a red light, we absolutely stop them and issue a citation.
Thank you.
Well, join me in thanking the whole team here, Stuart and everybody. Max, thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks for the handouts, too. Appreciate that.
Make a brief comment on the handouts. Those things are you can review them at home, and maybe in 6 months you might want to take a look at them, and it'll give you a little, things that you should be aware of. Maybe we forget these things, but hang on to them and look at them in another 6 months as well. And one comment.
One quick comment. This has nothing to do with driving, but if you're out shopping and you lose your phone, would you know who to call? Would you have the phone number of your kids or anyone? Okay, I see all different reactions.
No.
Make a note. Like I have 4 kids. I have their phone numbers written down, and I keep them in my purse. in case I lose my phone. Super important, think about it.
Yeah.
I got two comments. One is for that person who talked about the person tailgating. I have a different view on it. My theory is make them pass rather than my pulling over, because I look at it that if I change lanes, that's a risk-taking situation. Let them take the risk. So, but they have to make certain that they have an opening that they can go to. You can't be sitting there alongside cars. But if it's a matter of who's going to take the risk, I leave it to them. Second of all, if any of you have another group of which you think could be benefited by this kind of presentation, we do accept requests. You can contact the West Valley CHP station and ask them to have somebody from the senior volunteers get in contact with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, it's time